One of the most important relationships to have is a relationship with self. Your concept of self is extremely important. It is one of the most important aspects of life, especially as a young Black woman. It is how you view yourself, how you move through the world, your perception of life, the you, and all that matters. So today we're getting into my 4M method, and the first and the foundation of it all is notice, because you can't heal, work through, or grow from what you refuse to acknowledge. So let's get into it. I know firsthand what it feels like to be navigating the world and not really know who you are while you're navigating it. Like, yes, I'm super confident now. I'm hella sure of myself now. Can't nobody tell me shit now. But this version of me, she's maybe like 2, 3, maybe 4 years old. And before I met this version of myself, I was surviving the world and not identifying myself through that survival. I didn't learn first the importance of self, especially as a Black woman. I wasn't taught to check in with myself first before anything else. I learned by watching my parents, watching what was modeled and what was taught without even being said was survival. And in survival, there isn't room for anything else. I grew up in an environment where identity wasn't something we talked about. The first thing I learned was how to get through the day, not how to know myself, not how to pour into myself, not how to rest, but get through that day and handle tomorrow when it comes. And a lot of us were raised in environments that were never tailored for us to understand ourselves, our impact, or our needs. We learned through actions that we had to be everything to everyone else first, and then later on, maybe sometime down the line, be something to ourselves. And most of the time, there is nothing left. Because when you are giving, pouring, being everything to everyone, there isn't much space left for you to be something to yourself or to pour into yourself. So let's start here. Let's define what self-identity actually is in terms of, I would just say, the 4M method. So self-identity actually is the conscious internal sense of who you are as a unique individual. It is surrounded by your personal beliefs, your values, experiences, and roles. It is a dynamic, evolving concept that shapes how you think, how we feel, how we behave. It is influencing our actions, decisions, and overall our mental health. Your self-identity is not a destination. It is not something you figure out once you're done. It's a forever growing perspective of you. It is one of the most important things you will ever develop in life. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Your body, your relationships, your career, the way you walk into a room and the way you walk out of one. As a Black woman, we find ourselves in so many different roles tied to our self-identity. The strong Black woman, the code switcher, the caretaker, or people will say the fixer. If people don't really say caretaker. The invisible self, the overachiever, or you gotta prove a point. Identity isn't something we were freely given space to explore. It was shaped by our survival, or just survival in general, family roles, family dynamics, society expectations. So a lot of this journey becomes unlearning who we had to be to discover who we actually are. The strong Black woman trope is a box with no room to be anything else inside of it. It teaches us to be resilient, but don't feel too much, to handle it all, but do not ask for help. Be strong even when you are falling apart, even when you're at your wits' end. I always hear people say wits' end. Don't really know what wits means, but we're gonna go with that. And what that does over time is it teaches your body that emotions are not safe. So you stop feeling them, or you feel them and immediately try to sweep them under the rug, push them down, push through it. But remember, y'all, the body keeps the score. No one is ever asking us, what if she doesn't want to be strong right now? Because the box doesn't leave room for that question. You've never been given permission to be anything else other than strong. You start to confuse strength with identity. You think being strong is who you are, but it's not. It's what you learn to do. Those are two very, 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 very different things. Our parents raised us the way their parents raised them, from a completely different time with completely different threats. They handed us survival tools for a world that has drastically changed. And one of those tools was put everyone else first, be the one who holds everything together, and don't need too much. So now here we are in like relationships, romantic relationships, friendship, family dynamics, and we're still operating from that same programming. We attract people who need us to be everything because that's the role we know how to play. We accept less than what we deserve because we were never taught to expect more. We give and we give and we give and then feel resentful, or in my case, I used to feel used, or like, I can't really describe the word. I would say used, or what is that word? I can't think of the word. I'm just going to say hurt when nobody poured back into me. I had to learn that resentment over time isn't really about them. That resentment is information about me. It is about you. It is our identity telling us, this is not who I am. This is who I learned to be. When you don't know yourself, you don't know what you actually need in relationships. So you end up in a lot of situationships, a lot of one-sided friendships, toxic family dynamics that were built around the survival version of you. And then you wonder why you feel alone, even when you are surrounded by people. That loneliness isn't about them being wrong for you. It is about the absence of self. And in that absence of self, we find ourselves code switching. I catch myself code switching a lot, especially at work. People always get like the fun, the bubbly version of me, but that smart me, like that soulful me, the full version of me, I don't always let her show. I'm not going to lie. Recently, I had to have like that one-on-one conversation because part of me thought like, damn, I don't want to outshine people, which made me realize I have spent a lot of years, a lot of time in my life being taught, don't be too much. I suppressed myself so much as a child, and now here I am, a 27-year-old adult lady woman, watching myself move through life and seeing what that has cost me. The opportunities that were meant for me, I missed them. The rooms I should have been in, but because I convinced myself I wasn't ready, I made excuses on why I should not enter those rooms. Imposter syndrome in Black women is not random. It is a direct result of spending years being told directly and indirectly that being the carefree, young, whimsical black girl is too much. And when you put all of that together, years of suppression, years of surviving, years of not knowing your true self, you'll get a woman who becomes someone who questions herself even when she knows she is right, who second guesses her voice even when it deserves to be heard. Before she ever got a chance to fully be herself, a woman who was taught to perform instead of be, to survive instead of explore life, to prove instead of simply existing. So her identity becomes shaped around what's acceptable, what is safe, what will not get her rejected. And somewhere in that, she loses access to that carefree, certain, fully expressed version of herself. This is why notice is important. Notice is just not a concept. It is a practice. Notice is the process of acknowledging ourselves, paying attention to our bodies without feeling the need to immediately fix anything. When I say notice in the context of self-identity, I'm talking about learning to recognize the gap between who you are and who you've been performing. That gap shows up in specific places, and once you know where to look, you'll start seeing it everywhere. So we notice it first in our bodies. Your body is always communicating with you, even when you're not paying attention. The question is, are you listening? Start paying attention to this. How does your body feel when you walk into certain rooms? What happens in your body when you say yes and you really mean to say no? Where do you feel it in your body? Where do you hold a lot of tension, and when did it start? Your body knows who you are even when you have forgotten. The practice is learning to treat those signals as information. Instead of push through, sweeping shit under the rug, try noticing yourself. Self-identity shows up in what you repeatedly do, not what you say you're going to do. So let's start asking ourselves, who do I become when I'm around certain people? Which version of me shows up at work versus at home when I am alone? Where do I constantly shrink, and what am I afraid will happen if I don't? Keep in mind, when we ask these questions, it's not to tear ourselves down, to judge ourselves. We are asking these questions because the pattern is the data. It is the information. If you notice you always go quiet in certain group settings or around specific people, that's just not a personality trait. That's a signal about where you learned it wasn't safe to take up space. If you notice you over-explain everything you do, that's just not how you communicate. That is a signal at one point you were made to feel like your choices needed to be justified. The pattern always points back to something. Your job right now is to see it. That's all, nothing else, nothing less, nothing more. And if you want to go deeper into these practices, check out my notice shadow work guide for more in-depth practice using the first and notice. But to end this video, I want you to know something. Not knowing yourself is definitely not a flaw. It means you're doing what you had to do to get here, and now you get to do something different. Now we get to notice, who are you when nobody needs anything from you? You don't have to answer that out loud. You don't even have to answer that right now. Just let it sit, let it marinate. And that is where we begin. Anyways, y'all, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and check out next week's video as we go into the second N in the 4N method, which is name it.